Salawat. I'm reciting the ziyarah on behalf of my parents and everyone present here. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdillah. Assalamu alayka ya ibn Rasulillah. Assalamu alayka ya ibn Amir al-Mu'mineen wa ibn Sayyid al-Wasiin. Assalamu alayka ya ibn Fatimata sayyidati nisa'il alameen. Assalamu alayka ya athar Allah wa ibn atharihi wal witr al-mawtur. Assalamu alayka wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bifinaik. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت مصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجان، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته مصيبة ما أعظمها وعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضائف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآله وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. Everyone together. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا، ثم لعن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانة وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجدة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رديتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. صلوات.
Ahsant. One more salawat. Welcome again to everybody who is joining us both in person and virtually at the Imam al-Asr Mosque. Tonight is the night of the 5th of Muharram and the 5th part in our lecture series from our respected scholar. As always, inshallah, we're going to start with the recitation of the Holy Quran. So I'd ask everyone to bring up, as we invite up Brother Reza Razavi, to bring him up the loud salawat.
Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, I'll be reading Surah Al-Waqi'ah, the first 40 verses. Salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا وقعت الواقعة ليس لوقعتها كاذبة خافضة رافعة إذا رجت الأرض رجا وبست الجبال بسا فكانت حباء منبثا وكنتم أزواجا ثلاثا فأصحاب الميمنة ما أصحاب الميمنة وأصحاب المشأمة ما أصحاب المشأمة والسابقون السابقون أولئك المقربون في جنات النعيم ثلة من الأولين وقليل من الآخرين على سرر
موضونة متكئين عليها متقابلين يطوف عليهم ولدان مخلدون بأكواب وأباريق وكأس من معين لا يصدعون عنها ولا ينظفون وفاكهة مما يتخيرون ولحم طير مما يشتهون وحور عين كأمثال اللؤلؤ المكنون جزاء بما كانوا يعملون لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا تأثيما إلا قيلا سلاما سلاما وأصحاب اليمين ما أصحاب اليمين في سدر مخضود وطلح منضود وذل ممدود وماء مسكوب وفاكهة كثيرة لا مقطوعة ولا ممنوعة وفرش مرفوعة إنا أنشأنهن إنشاء فجعلناهن أبكارا عربا أترابا لأصحاب اليمين ثلة من الأولين وثلة من الآخرين صدق الله العلي العظيم. Now I'll be reading the English translation. In the name of God, the most beneficent and merciful. When the occurrence occurs, there is at its occurrence no denial. It will bring down and raise up. When the earth is shaken with convulsion and the mountains are broken down, crumbling, and become dust dispersing, and you become three kinds. Then the companions of the right, what are the companions of the right? And the companions of the left, what are the companions of the left? And the forerunners, those are the ones brought near to Allah in the garden of pleasure, a large company of the former peoples and a few of the latter peoples, on thrones woven with ornament, reclining on them facing each other. There will circulate among them young boys made eternal with vessels, pitchers, and a cup from a flower spring. No headache will they have therefrom, nor will they be intoxicated, and fruit of what they select, and the meat of fowl from whatever they desire. And fair women with beautiful eyes, the likenesses of pearls well protected, as a reward for what they used to do. They will not hear therein ill speech or commission of sin, only a saying of peace. Peace. And the companions of the right, what are the companions of the right? They will be among oak trees with thorns removed, and banana trees layered with fruit, and shade extended, and water poured down. And fruit abundant and varied, neither limited to season nor forbidden, and upon bed raised high. Indeed, we have produced them in a creation, and made them virgins devoted to their husbands and of equal age. For the companions of the right, who are a company of the former peoples and a company of the latter peoples. Aflaha man salla ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Let's send one more loud salawat for the brother. So inshallah, we wanted to acknowledge the sponsor for tonight's program is Sister Tahmina Raza. We'd request that you recite a Surah Fatiha for her marhumin and all the marhumin of those present, inshallah. Fatiha. Before we continue on with the program, an announcement that we've been making each night is a new program that we have at the Masjid. As you know, on nights like these, typically, everyone grabs a water bottle, drinks a couple of sips, and then throws the water bottle away or puts it aside, and a lot of water, plastic, and so on get wasted. So what we've been doing is asking people to bring in their pre-filled water bottles or containers. There's dispensers in both halls, and you can fill up what you have brought in without having to waste any water or plastic like we often do. So inshallah, that way we can add one more thawab to our list for this month, inshallah. With that said, I'm going to invite up Brother Muhammad Ibrahim, who's going to lead us in the recitation of a salam, and we'll bring him up with a loud salawat.
Salawat. Hussain al-Gharib al-Gharib al-Hussain Hussain al-Shahid al-Shahid al-Hussain. Salams on the head of my Maulana Hussain. Salams on the lips of my blessed Hussain. For days in the desert your body remained, with thousands of arrows our shroud they became, and on Arba'in, where the millions pray, the grief and the mourning for you, Ya Hussain. Hussain al-Gharib al-Gharib al-Hussain. Hussain al-Shahid al-Shahid al-Hussain. The screams of the children thirsty for water. The duty was sent to Abbas, our Savior. The Lion of God could be seen riding faster to reach Al-Furat and to please his Sakinah. But how does he fall from the horse with no hands? The flag of Islam laying bare on the sand. Hussain al-Gharib al-Gharib al-Hussain. Hussain al-Shahid al-Shahid al-Hussain. A lady was seen peering out from the tent. A cry from the heavens that Zahra presents. O shimmer, why on his chest the sword stained in blood was Hussain your mother, it's time to ascend. Your trials in Karbala have came to an end. Hussein al-Gharib, al-Gharib, al-Hussein. Hussein al-Shahid, al-Shahid, al-Hussein. Sakina would cry every night for father, and Zainab would cradle Hussein's little daughter. But when they presented his head on a platter, Sakina could not bear to live any longer, but none could comfort or soothe young Sakina. She died in the prison with Zainab beside her. Hussein al-Gharib, al-Gharib, al-Hussein. Hussein al-Shahid, al-Shahid, al-Hussein. The fire, the burning, the tents up in flames. O Zainab, protect Imam Ali bin Hussein. The soldiers of Yazid want to beat us with chains. The women and children are crying in vain. Oh Baba Ali, please come back and defend us. Your children are waiting for you to return. Hussein al-Gharib, al-Gharib, al-Hussein. Hussein al-Shahid, al-Shahid, al-Hussein. Salawat.
Thank you for the beautiful recitation. One more loud salawat. So before we get to our lecture, just an announcement we made yesterday and are going to be making as we approach Saturday, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, with everyone's du'as and support, the masjid has reached the stage of beginning construction for the Imam al-Asr mosque. Soon, inshallah. Please join the fundraiser that's going to be happening on Saturday, this coming Saturday, the 6th of August, which is going to be the 8th of Muharram, during the English and Urdu Majlis, inshallah. We want you to pledge and give your donations for this good cause. The goal is to have the masjid ready by 2024, inshallah, and we need continued support and donations to make that happen. We need the funding for completion of the project over the next 3 years, secured through those contributions and pledges, so that we can do this as quickly as possible. The masjid is currently seeking pledges for the remaining 7 million from the total cost of 10.5 million. And in doing that, we'll be able to prevent any kind of blockages or stops in the construction as the masjid work goes on. Details of the project will, inshallah, be provided during the fundraiser. And please, with your du'as and support, we can make that happen. Salawat. So inshallah, with that said, we will proceed to the lecture from our scholar. This is night 5 of the discussion from Maulana. It's been a continued discussion of understanding what Iman means in a larger context and being part of not just the larger culture, but the subculture of that context. How do we apply that? So yesterday, part of the discussion, which I thought I benefited from, was in talking to our kids, having them have answers that help them understand and be ready for the questions they're going to get. And having them have answers that are at least satisfying to them so that they're not going unarmed into a battlefield that's going to be very difficult when they go to school, high school, and college, inshallah. So with that, we invite our respected scholar, Sayyid Shaan Rizvi, up with a loud salawat.
For the marhumin of the sponsors of today's Majlis, as well as your own marhumin, please recite a Suratul Mubarakatul Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين فاطر السماوات والأرضين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا ولعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فاتقوا الله وأصلحوا ذات بينكم وأطيعوا الله ورسوله إن كنتم مؤمنين إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا وعلى ربهم يتوكلون الذين يقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam and in Iman, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd especially like to give salams to my elders who are here amongst us. As always, we begin our majlis, our commemoration, by giving pursa, by giving condolences to the mother of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Fatima al-Zahra. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We give condolences to the Imam of our time, to all the righteous maraji all over the world, to all the pious ulama, all the mu'mineen and mu'minat who have been gathered to remember the Aza of Hussein all over the world. We give them condolences, we give them pursa. Please recite a salawat. Our discussion together has been on the topic of Iman. Right? What does it mean to be a mu'min? Right? Mu'min budan, mu'min hona. Right? What does it mean? Right? To be a mu'min. Right? And as many of you know by now, I like to start my speeches by giving a recap. But what I've noticed is that people aren't very interested in hearing a recap. They want to get to the new material pretty quickly. So I'll keep it short. Right? But for purpose of continuation, just in a few sentences, what have we talked about so far? Right? We said that your iman that you have in your heart, that becomes complete when you start acting on what you're supposed to act on. That iman exists in a state of potentiality in you. That iman is not real until you start doing those things. So what's an example? We know we have to do silatul rahim. Right? Many of us live alone now. We live away from our parents. We're in university. Our parents live in a different town, different city, different state. When you pick up that phone and you call your mom, when you call your dad, your parents, your uncles, your aunts, your grandparents, right? When you do that silatul rahim, that is your iman becoming more complete. Okay? What's another example? Right? When we know that our children are losing their faith, but we live at such a distance from mu'mineen, then when we make that decision to sit in that car in the DMV area, to drive 45 minutes to the Islamic Center, or to an Islamic school where we can enroll our children so that their identity can be preserved, no matter how hard it is to drive 45 minutes with young children in your car, that is your iman becoming more perfect. Okay, number two, we said iman is a gradated reality. It's not you're mu'min or you're not mu'min. No. It can go up, and yes, your iman can also go down. And if it gets to that lowest level, then we're talking about kufr. We're talking about shirk. We're talking about denying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? At the very bottom. Okay. Number three, what did we say? We said that if our iman is going to be strong in this country, it needs to be grounded in aqlaniyat. Ta'aqqul. The intellect. Rationalization. Argumentation. Demonstration. Right? It needs to be anchored in something. And we said that there is a role for everything in iman. There is a role for emotion. Right? That's what we're here for today. There is a role for spirituality. There's a role for developing or working on our nafs. There's a role for ziyarah. There's a role for prayer. There's a role for hajj. There's a role for all those things. But if we want that iman to be grounded such that nothing can shake it, we have to work on this ta'aqqul, this ability to ground our faith in logical argumentation for ourselves and for other people. Okay, number four, we talked about the attributes of the mu'mineen. We said that some of the attributes are what? We said, iqamatus salat wa alladhina mimma razaqnahum yunfiqun. Right? They establish prayer and they give charity. If you go through the entire Holy Quran, there's no attributes of a mu'min that you will find mentioned more often than these two things. Right? When it comes to the practical level, there's nothing you're going to find that is more common than iqamatus salat wa atuz zakat. Right? They pray, they are in a state of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are people who like to share of themselves. And we said, وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. That one of their attributes is that the Holy Quran increases them in faith. And we said that the meaning of that is not just a plain tilawat, although that is good. The meaning of that is reflection, tadabbur, taking the Quran and making it a part of your living reality. Right? Reading it with some meaning, some translation, some understanding. Trying to bring that into your life. Right? And we quoted the hadith of Imam Sadiq on that. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Imam. Please recite another salawat. Okay, now moving on to today's discussion. Right? This was all a recap of what we have discussed. Today's discussion relates to the beginning of those verses that I cited, which were فَاتَّقَ اللَّهَ وَأَصْلِهُ ذَاتَ بَيْنِكُمْ. Have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and mend the relations between yourselves, O mu'mineen. bring the relations between yourselves to a better state. We have verses like this in the Holy Quran. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. That the mu'mineen are ikhwa. So make peace between your brothers. Ikhwa can be translated in one meaning as a family, right? They're not just your brothers in faith, they are your actual blood brothers. The Holy Quran is saying these people are not only your brothers in faith, they are like your own family. The mu'mineen are your own family. That's the Quranic expression. This is not me sitting here telling you what to think. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying the mu'mineen are your own family. If we want our iman to be strong in this country, then part of what we have to think about is our relationship with other mu'mineen. How is it that we relate to other mu'mineen in this community? Right. Please recite a salawat. When we look around the world today, right? When we look around what is happening today in the 21st century, in the year 2022, in July, living in America, living in Virginia, in the DMV area, and in many places all over the world, we can see that one of the biggest needs of man that is not being fulfilled is man's need for a community. Man's need to live in a community, to be with other people, to be in a tribe. Right? To be living amongst people. In fact, if you talk to medical professionals, one of the things they will tell you is that there have been studies done on people who live in isolation. What those studies show, and the medical professionals here can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I have read. What those studies show is that if somebody is socially isolated, if they don't have a social circle around them, if they don't have friends, if they don't have people who care for them, then that condition is just as bad as diabetes. It's just as bad as arthritis. It's just as bad as migraine headaches. Any chronic condition you can think of, social isolation will produce those same effects in your body. Right? Community. Right? One of the biggest things that not just we are lacking, humanity is lacking today, is community. What we have is connectivity. What we have is connectivity, right? At any moment, at any time, we can access anybody in the world, right? We can access anyone in the world. We can say whatever we would like to them at that time. But that has not fulfilled the need for community. We saw this during COVID, right? What was the issue during the 2 years of COVID with people staying indoors? Why was it so difficult? If we take this assumption that these devices are giving us community, then why was it difficult for people to be indoors and not to see people, right? If you can just connect with people through a device and that can be your community and that is sufficient for you as a human being, then what was wrong with COVID, right? Why can't we just live like that forever, right? When we are online connected to people, right? That is not fulfilling the basic needs that a person has for connectivity. That is not fulfilling the basic expectations that you and I have of each other as human beings, right? When I come to you as a mu'min, as a human, I need certain things from you. You need certain things from me. I expect certain things from you. You expect certain things from me, right? These things are unstated. But when we rely on these other types of connection and connectivity, we're not getting that community that we need. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Okay. So when we talk about iman, we talk about building a virtuous community, right? We talk about this aspect of iman, which is the relationships between mu'mineen. That's what we're going to talk about today, the relationships between mu'mineen. What guidance do we have from the Holy Quran and the Ahlul Bayt on this topic? Okay? And I want to speak especially to my younger brothers and sisters today. That this is one of those topics that when I studied this, we often have this idea that, okay, Islam has the answer for everything. right? Islam, the book, the Quran will teach you everything, right? All the realities are in this book. All the answers are in Islam. Okay, this is a nice slogan, right? This is a great slogan. When I went through the traditions and when I studied these teachings on community, I saw this, right? I saw that when we study how the Ahlul Bayt talked about relationships between people, community building and how to build that community of mu'mineen, there is a reality that the Ahlul Bayt can teach us that is sublime, that you won't get anywhere else. Any other place you go to, if you go to Oprah, if you go to Brené Brown, if you go to these thinkers, right, you will have to read books upon books upon books about how to build relationships. And maybe then you'll get a couple nuggets from them. Okay? The Ahlul Bayt, in just a few succinct, shireen words, have given us guidance as to how to build that virtuous community. Right? So what I want to do today is just look at some of the ahadith on how a mu'min is supposed to treat another mu'min. Okay? These are taken from Al-Kafi, from a part of Al-Kafi called Kitab al-Ishra, the book of social relationships. Right? When you study hadith, there's an entire second section of hadith called Bab al-Ishra or Kitab al-Ishra, Kitab al-Mu'ashara. How is it that we have relations with each other? Okay? So I'm just going to give you these hadith. You think about them, right? You try to apply them in your life. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the first hadith is what? We have from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam on the importance of living in a community. He says, إِنَّهُ لَا بُدَّ لَكُم مِّنَ النَّاسِ إِنَّ أَحَدًا لَا يَسْتَغْنِي عَنِ النَّاسِ حَيَاتَهُ وَالنَّاسُ لَا بُدَّ لِبَعْدِهِم مِّن بَعْدٍ. That there is no escape from living amongst the people. Right? Meaning it's necessary to live amongst people. No one from you can be entirely independent in his or her life. People need one another. Right? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. People need one another. Right? The importance of just being part of a community in this first hadith. The importance of not isolating yourself. Right? The importance of being involved in other people's lives. Right? This is speaking to the primordial need of man to be part of community. Okay. Hadith number 2, right? What is happening? What happens when we don't do that? When we refrain from community? Again, from Imam Baqir or Imam Sadiq. He says, Al-inqibadu minan nas muksibatun lil adawa. Refraining from your community, from people, causes enmity. Right? Staying away from community causes enmity. If you are part of a group of people, you never spend time with them. You never invite them to your home. You never accept their invitations. You never want to do anything with them. Okay? You never want to share anything from yourself with them. You never want to be vulnerable with them. At some point, those people are going to dislike you. Right? There's going to be a distance that comes. Please recite a salawat. What are the actions that we can do to build a community? Right? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, قُلْتُ لِأَبَا عَبْدِ اللَّهِ alayhi salam, someone asks Abi Abdullah alayhi salam, كيف ينبغي لنا أن نصنع فيما بيننا وبين قومنا وفيما بيننا وبين خلطائنا من الناس. That, O Imam, how should we act with those people who are part of our community and also those people who are outside of our Shia community? What should we do with them? The Imam says, قال تعدون الأمانة إليهم وتقيمون الشهادة لهم وعليهم وتعودون مرضاهم وتشهدون جنائزهم. That, O man, you should convey their trusts to them. If they have borrowed something, right? If you have borrowed something, give it back to them. You should be witnesses for them and against them, right? If they need you as a witness. If they are sick, you should visit them. And if they pass away, you should go to their janazah prayers. Right? The Imam is speaking in terms of action. Right? When we're trying to build community, he's saying that the things that build this community, that are going to build these relationships between us, are actions. Right? Going to people's funerals, going to their homes, returning things to them, right? Checking up on them. Sometimes we think that we are building community just by sending text messages, right? Just by sending text messages. Hey, how's it going? Great, you know. Who's going to give you a whole story about how they're feeling on a text message, right? Or sometimes I guess people do that. I personally haven't. But, right? The point is that what is building community, according to the Imam, are these steps that you take, these actions that you take to visit the mu'mineen, to spend time with the mu'mineen. Okay. Hadith, the next hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Qala Abu Ja'far. Okay. Qala Abu Ja'far, Man khalatta fa in istata'aka an takuna yaduka al-ulya alayhim faf'al. That whoever you meet in your community, if you can be the upper hand with that person, then try to be the upper hand. Try to be al-yad al-ulya. Right? What does that mean? Right? Does that mean that try to be the one who's more powerful than that person? No. It means that if you're the person who can give that person something, if you're in a position to give that person something, if you're in a position to help that person, right? Try to develop yourself so that that person can look to you for help, not so that you are going to that person for help. Right? Work on yourself so that other mu'mineen can rely on you. Right? Don't depend on other people. Don't inconvenience other mu'mineen to lift you up. You try to be that person that can help the other mu'mineen. These are recite salawat. Okay, so then how is it that we can make our mu'min brothers and sisters happy? How can we bring this surur to this gathering, right? When we have mu'min brothers and sisters that we're trying to build, what is it that we can do? Okay, so Qala Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. Again, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. إذا أحببت أحدا من إخوانك فأعلمه ذلك فإن إبراهيم عليه السلام قال ربي أرني كيف تحيي الموتى قال أولم تؤمن قال بلى ولكن ليطمئن قلبي. Imam Sadiq says that if you love one of your mu'min brothers and sisters, then tell him that. Right? Tell him that you love him. Why? Imam Sadiq is asked why. He says that Ibrahim said, "O Lord, show me how you bring the dead back to life." Right? When he wanted to know how you bring the dead back to life, he asked his Lord, "How do you bring the dead back to life?" And the Lord said, "Take these 4 pieces of this bird, place them on different mountains, and then call them, and you will see that they come together to form a living bird." Right? Ibrahim said, "Show me how you bring the dead back to life." Allah's response was what? "Do you not have iman, Ibrahim?" Ibrahim said what? قَالُوا بَلَى وَلَكِنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. I have iman in you, but I need itminan. Right? Your brother needs itminan. Right? When you tell him something, when you affirm your mu'min brother, when you tell him that you like him, there is something that is coming to your mu'min brother's heart. Right? We need to make this culture of complimenting other mu'mineen in our community, right? This is very weak. Now we don't need to go and say, "Brother, I love you, sister, I love you," right? We don't need to make it awkward, right? Okay? But find a way to say that you appreciate this person, right? Find a way to say that, "Look, what you're doing, I really appreciated that. The way you did this program, the way you recited this was excellent. Please keep it up. The way you made this food was, mashallah, amazing." Right? Find a way to tell that mu'min brother that you appreciate him, that you like him, that you love him. Right? Why? Because لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي, so that his heart has itminan. Right? People need to hear that. We don't have this culture in our community, brothers and sisters, right? Salawat. Okay. The importance of not investigating people's faults. Right? The importance of not investigating the faults of our brothers and sisters in Iman. Qala Abu Abdullah, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, لا تفتش الناس فتبقى بلا صديق. Don't investigate the people for their faults, because if you do, if you chase people's faults, you will be left without a sadiq, without a friend. If you go after people's faults, you will be left without a friend. Right? Some people, you will see that they are always looking to see the negative aspects of other people. They're always counting their faults. They're always comparing themselves to those people. The Imam is saying what? If you do this, if you are looking at the negative side of everybody, if you are counting their shortcomings, you yourself will be isolated. You won't have any friends. Right? What is the point? Find me the perfect person. Right? Find me the perfect person. Right? If you talk to ulama, the people who are more experienced in communities, I don't have that much experience in communities, but this is what I've heard from senior scholars, right? When it comes to our communities, everyone on the outside presents themselves well, right? Everyone is smiling, dressed well, mashallah, like greets you nicely, talks to you well. When you talk to the ulama who have spent a lot of time with people, you will see how many problems there are behind the scenes, right? You will see how much people are suffering. You will see how much people are struggling, right? Find me that perfect mu'min, right? You're not going to find it. So each of us has those faults. If you are after other people's faults, you're going to isolate yourself even more, right? Don't worry about it. Work on yourself. Work on what you can do so that that person doesn't have that fault. Please recite a salawat. Okay. Qala Imam Sadiq, how can we respect our mu'min brothers and sisters? Right? How can we respect them? Qala Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, min at-tawadu an tusallima ala man laqit. Min at-tawadu an tusallima ala man laqit. It is a sign of tawadu. It's a sign of bringing yourself down. It's a sign of humility that you give salams to the people that you meet. The Imam is saying when you say salamun alaykum to somebody, you are humbling yourself before that person. Right? You are humbling yourself before that person. Right? When you give salam to that person before they give salam to you, you are bringing your maqam low and saying assalamu alaikum to that other person. Right? And you are also praying for that person. Assalamu alaikum is not just hello, as some of our younger community members may think. It is a prayer for the well-being of that person. You are wishing for complete, total well-being for that person. May you have well-being in your life. Right? May you have well-being in your life. When you say salam, it is a sign of respect and humility to your mu'min brother. What is the priority of giving salam? Qala Imam Sadiq, qala Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, يسلم الصغير على الكبير والمار على القائد والقليل على الكثير. Okay, this is also important for my younger brothers, right? Once again. Imam Sadiq says, when we think of salam as a sign of humility, as a sign of lowering yourself, the one who is younger should give salam first to the one who is older than him. Right? The one who is younger in age needs to give salam to one who is elder to him. The one who is seated, right? The one who is standing gives salam to one who is sitting down. The few in number should give salam to a large group. Right? If one person comes into a group, you shouldn't expect everyone to say salam to him. He should be the one to say salam. Hadith of Imam Sadiq. Please recite salawat. Okay. Talking about honoring mu'mineen and respecting mu'mineen. Now what about our elder mu'mineen? And I'm stressing this point about elders. Right? I'm really stressing this point because this is one thing that in American Islam we are really weak in. Right? If you go to any Muslim country that I have been to, the ones that I have been to, when you talk about Islam, one thing that you will see is that there is a deep-seated ihtiram and respect for elders. Right? Every elder is seen as your uncle, right? Your aunt, your mother, your grandmother, right? We don't have that culture here. What does Imam Sadiq say about this? What does Imam Sadiq say? Inna min ijlalillah azza wa jal ijlal al-shaykh al-kabir. Amongst the ways of honoring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, amongst the ways of giving honor to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to honor an elder. Right? Amongst the ways of honoring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to honor the elders in your lives. Right? Sometimes we're confused, like what is the path? How do we grow closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What is the way? What are the actions? Right? Your path to perfection is partially through the people around you. And amongst those people around you, one of the most important groups are who? The elders around you. Right? Your path to Allah is through these people. You just honor your elders, and by yourself you'll get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Please recite a salawat. Okay. The importance of having mu'mineen as guests, right? And how guests should be treated. This is from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قال رسول الله إذا دخل أحدكم على أخيه المسلم في بيته فهو أمير عليه حتى يخرج. That when a Muslim comes to another Muslim's home, then that guest, that visitor to that home, is a king until the time that he leaves. He is to be treated like an Amir until the time that he leaves. Right? Okay, so sometimes in some communities there's not a great culture of inviting people to homes. Right? Sometimes we think we'll just see people at the center and that's it. No, when someone comes to your house, when you go to somebody else's house, that relationship is going to be stronger. But secondly, when that person comes to your house, if you want to build that relationship, you need to make that person as a mu'min as comfortable as possible. Right? That is what's going to bring your hearts together. If you treat that person like a king, right, that is going to bring your heart together. That person is an Amir up until the time he leaves. And please recite a salawat. Okay. And I apologize if the discussion sounds a little bit dry, but when it comes to hadith, right, there's nothing that I can say up here that is more profound, more meaningful than the words of Ahlul Bayt. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So all I am giving you are those kalam, right? All I'm giving you are those words with a little bit of background, a little bit of explanation, and a little bit of application, right? Your job is to think about that. Your job is to take that to heart and see if we can bring this into our lives. How can we not divide the mu'mineen? How is it that we can make sure that this community stays united? Right? قال أبو عبد الله إذا كان القوم ثلاثة فلا يتناجى منهم اثنان دون صاحبهما فإن في ذلك ما يحزنه ويؤذيه. Please recite a salawat. Imam Sadiq says that if there are three mu'mineen together, right? If there are three mu'mineen together, then two of them should not whisper to one another without that third person. Two of them should not talk privately and whisper without that third person. Why? Because it will bother that third person. It will hurt that third mu'min. Right? Sometimes we see in some communities when people come in, and this is something I have heard and I have seen, that when people go to a new community, they don't feel welcome. Why? Because they say that everyone in this center already has a group of friends. Right? Everybody already has a clique. Everybody already has a set of people that they talk to. Right? Everyone's in a group. When that new person comes, be wary of talking without including that third person. Why? Because that will bother that mu'min brother of yours, right? That's not going to strengthen your community. If you see a new face, we have to make an effort to reach out, my brothers, right? We have to make an effort to get to know people's names. We have to make an effort to get people's phone numbers, to follow up, right? To build that community that way. Okay. Please recite a salawat. Okay. Being humble even where we sit, right? Even where we sit in our communities, right? Imam Sadiq says what? قال أبو عبد الله كان رسول الله إذا دخل منزلا قعد في أدنى المجلس إليه حين يدخل. That when the Prophet of Islam would enter any gathering, he would sit down in the place that was closest to him. Right? Sometimes we have a spot that is exclusive to us. We think that this is my spot, this is my parking spot, this is where I sit. Right? And there's a certain arrogance that comes with that. Right? No, even the Prophet himself is saying that when he used to enter, he would sit down wherever he found space. Right? He didn't go look for, this is my spot. Right? From one perspective, this man is a prophet. His spiritual maqam is something that we can't even touch. From another perspective, he is a human being like us. He's eating, he's drinking, he's sitting down. His human example is also an example for us. Right? Please recite a salawat. Okay, again, now what is it that we can do to connect with other mu'mineen, to bring joy to their lives? Right? What is it that we can do to make them happy, right? To bring that surur. So, Sa'altu Abul Hasan alayhi salam, فَقُلْتُ جُئِلْتُ فِدَاكَ. O Abul Hasan, may my life be sacrificed for you. فَذَاكَ الرَّجُلُ يَكُونُ مَعَ الْقَوْمِ فَيَجْرِي بَيْنَهُمْ كَلَامٌ يَمْزَحُونَ وَيَضْحَكُونَ قَالَ لَا بَأْسَ مَا لَمْ يَكُنْ فَظَنَنْتُ أَنَّهُ عَنَ الْفَوْشِ. A man comes to the Imam alayhi salam. He says that, "O Imam, there's another man that lives in a group of people. That group of people, they make a lot of jokes with each other. They like to laugh with each other." The Imam says that there is no problem in that, as long as it is not ... And the narrator says that I think the Imam said fosh. So the narrator didn't hear the end of the sentence. Right? The Imam said there's no problem in that joking or that laughing as long as it is not, the narrator says he thinks fosh, which means foul language, which means crude language, which means swear words. Right? As long as that's not being used, there's no problem. Then the Imam continues. قال إن رسول الله كان يأتي الأعرابي فيهدي له الهدية ثم يقول مكانه أعطنا ثمن هديتنا فيضحك رسول الله وكان إذا اختم يقول ما فعل الأعرابي ليته أتانا. The Imam continues talking to this man. He says that there was a Bedouin Arab, right? An Arab who used to live in the outskirts away from civilization. And that Bedouin used to come to the Prophet and he used to give that Prophet a gift. When he gave the Prophet a gift, he would say, "Prophet, now give me the price of the gift." Right? Give me the value of the gift. And the Prophet would hear this and he would laugh. And the Imam says, now whenever the Prophet was sad about something, he would say, how funny was that Arabi, how funny was that Bedouin Arab. I wish he could come to us right now. Okay, please recite a salawat. Okay, another hadith on the same topic, right? Another hadith on the same topic. قال أبو عبد الله عليه السلام. And the Imam is talking to one of his companions and he asks his companion a question. The question is what? كيف مضاءبة بعدكم بعدا. He says, how is your laughing and how is your joking amongst one another? قلت قليل. قال فلا تفعلوا فإن المضاءبة من حسن الخلق. The Imam asked, how is your laughing, how is your joking in your community? The man says that it is not that much, O Imam. The Imam says that don't be like that. Why? Because joking with your other mu'min brothers is part of your husn khulq. It's part of your good character. And then the Imam continues, فَإِنَّكَ لَتَدْخُلَ بِهَا السُّرُورَ عَلَىٰ أَخِيكَ وَلَقَدْ كَانَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ يضائب الرجل يريد أن يسره. Don't do that, because verily when you joke with your mu'min brothers and sisters, that is part of your good character. Right? And through joking, you can make another mu'min happy. You can make your mu'min brother or sister happy. In fact, the Imam says that when the Prophet wanted to cheer up a person who was sad, the Prophet used to joke with them. The Prophet would tell them a joke. Okay, so what is the message here? That like sometimes when we think about religion, right, when we start to get more practicing, what happens, right? Suddenly we start to wear darker colors, our beard starts to get a little bit longer, right? Starts to get a little bit thicker, right? We don't smile that much anymore, right? We're always wearing black, right? If we focus on just those things, we start missing the larger picture of what the Imam is trying to say. These ahadith are from the oldest hadith text, one of the oldest hadith texts that we have. The Imam is talking about building a community, right? What is our project here? What is the project of Shahe Najaf? What is the project of Imam al-Asr? Right? Building community. Allama Tabatabai narrates in Sunan al-Nabi that when the Prophet would meet with his companions, when he would sit with them, he was affable. Right? He used to talk to them. He used to ask them questions. He used to joke with them. Right? This is how relationships are built, my brothers and sisters. This is how, when we talk about building iman, keeping our iman strong and helping other people's iman stay strong, these are the things we have to follow. Please recite a salawat. Inshallah, we can take a few minutes as we talk about friendship, as we talk about community, as we talk about other mu'mineen, to remember the aza of Aba Abdullah, as well as those companions, those friends, those other mu'mineen who accompanied Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. One of those people was Habib ibn Mazahir. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya ibn Rasulillah. وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله يا أبا عبد الله. We would give our fathers for you. We would give our mothers for you, Ya Aba Abdullah. We would give our children for you, Ya Aba Abdullah. Aba Abdullah, if we were with you in Karbala, we would have succeeded a great success. Nafuza fawzan azima. That companion of Hussein alayhi salam that we would like to remember tonight is a man by the name of Habib ibn Mazahir. Habib was someone who was a beloved friend of Hussein. Now many of these companions of Hussein, they come to Hussein later on in life. Right? Some of them fought in battles with Hussein, they join Hussein later on when Hussein is much older. Habib was that childhood friend of Hussein. Have you ever had a friend, brothers in life, who you were so close to that when that friend was happy, you felt happy? When there was something that was bothering that friend, when there was something that hurt that friend, you yourself were also hurt. You yourself were always restless. When that friend needed help, you didn't think twice about trying to go help that friend. When that friend needed someone to cheer him up, you had no hesitation in cheering up that friend. That person, that friend for Hussein was Habib ibn Mazahir. Habib, his name in Arabic means friend. His name means friend. And in Habib, we have an example for us to give our children names that are going to inspire our children. To give our children names to inspire our children. When we name our children the names of the Ahlul Bayt, part of it is to get the barakah of those names in our homes, right? When we say Ali, when we say Fatima, when we Hussein, Mahdi, Abbas, Sadiq, the barakah of those names, we bring that in that home. But part of why we name our child those names is also to inspire that child himself. You see, when you name your child, when we name our children, when we name our child Sakina, we know that that girl, that daughter, is always going to have a deep connection with her father. We know that wherever she is in this world, that place she is going to seek comfort in her life is with her father. When we name our child Abbas, we know that child, one day when he grows up, he is going to do what he can to serve those children of Bani Hashim and to serve those children who have nothing else for them. When that child grows up, that Abbas grows up, when he sees that there are children living in Yemen who have nothing to eat, such that that skin is going into their bones, when they have no energy, such that birds can get food faster than them, when that Abbas sees that there are children living in climates who own nothing but one shirt and a pair of shorts, when he sees that there are children in refugee camps whose childhood is passing without any school, who have no one to buy them toys on Eid, then one day that child will be a man. And one day that man will say, I need to do something to help these children. And when we name our child Zainab, we know that when that daughter grows up to be a lady, and when she is a lady and everything in that lady's life is lost, when that lady has given her own children to be Shaheed, when she has kissed her brother goodbye for the last time, when she has seen her brother being slaughtered before her own eyes, and when her hair has turned gray because of what she has seen in front of her own eyes, then despite that pain and that grief, then that lady will find a way to carry on. May Allah give us no gham except for the gham of Hussein. When Rasulullah is sitting with his ashab and his ansar, he sees children outside playing with his grandson Hussein. Rasulullah walks towards these children and he picks up Habib. He begins kissing Habib and rubbing his hand on the head of Habib. People are saying, Oh Rasulullah, why are you doing this with Habib? Oh Ashab, you don't see what I see in Habib. What are you seeing in Habib, O Rasulullah? Ashab, I see that wherever Hussein is playing, wherever Hussein is walking, Habib is playing with him. Habib is walking right behind him. Habib is taking dust from the feet of Hussein and he's rubbing it on his head. The family of Hussein, that spokesperson for that family was Abul Fadl al-Abbas. But amongst the companions, amongst the friends, that leader was Habib ibn Mazahir. He was one of those people who was living in Kufa when Muslim ibn Aqil comes to Kufa. Habib speaks to Muslim ibn Aqil and he pledges allegiance to Hussein. There comes a time when Habib is in Kufa and he has no news of Hussein, And Habib is in Kufa, and Hussein has arrived at this time in Karbala. On the 3rd of Muharram, Umar ibn Sa'd comes to Karbala with 3,000 men. He takes over the command of the army from Hur. And day after day after day, commanders and troops are coming. More and more people are bringing their armies to Karbala. And they see that Hussein is not alone. Hussein has brought his women with him. Hussein has brought his children with him. And these mal'uneen say that to torment these children, we are going to gallop our horses with as much force as possible to scare these children, to put fear in the hearts of these little children. So when they enter Karbala, they gallop their horses, they beat their drums, and the children are scared. And Musa'ib Zainab has to comfort these children. She says, "Oh Abu Abdullah, these troops are coming one after one after one. These children in our camp are scared, Abu Abdullah. We don't have anyone to help us, O Hussein. Do you have a Habib? Do you have a friend that can come to our rescue?" Hussein decides to write a letter to Habib. He sends it with a messenger through the darkness of the night to Kufa. Now this is a time of fear and lockdown in Kufa. At night, Habib is seated having dinner with his wife. Habib hears a knock at the door. Habib whispers, "Who is there?" The man comes to the other side and says, "Ana Baridul Hussein. I am the messenger from Hussein ibn Ali." Hussein opens the door. Habib takes that letter and places it on his head. He rubs the letter of Hussein on his eyes. He kisses that letter from Hussein and he opens that letter. That letter says, "Min Hussein ibn Ali ila rajulin faqih." From Hussein ibn Ali to a scholarly old man, Habib. The letter says, "Habib, your Hussein is now gharib. Your Hussein is surrounded by enemies in Karbala and I need your help. If you come to me, Habib, my Jad Rasulullah will quench your thirst." Habib closes the letter and he goes inside. He sits down for dinner with his wife. Habib tells his wife that Hussein has asked him to go to Karbala. The wife says, "Habib, what is it that you intend to do?" Habib says, "Oh dear wife, I am worried if I go, what is going to happen to you?" The wife stands up and says, "Habib, this son of Zahra is calling you. By Allah, Habib, if you don't go, then I will stand up myself and go help Hussein." On the morning before Ashura, Hussein sees a crowd of dust approaching Karbala. He sees only one horse. Hussein sees Habib and Habib sees Hussein. Habib gets off his horse. He kisses the hand of Hussein. He kisses the feet of Hussein. He says, "Mawla Hussein, my wife sends you salams." "Hussein, I am an old man," says Habib, "but when I see you, I get energy." Habib stands upright and says, "Hussein, I am an old man, but I am ready for jihad for you." The ashab of Hussein come and meet Habib. Zainab hears the commotion. She hears the ashab rejoicing. She says, "Fidda, Fidda, go outside and see what is happening in the camp." Fidda goes and says, "O daughter of Ali, Habib has come from Kufa and has joined our camp." Zainab tells Fidda, "Go to Habib and say, 'Oh Habib, Zainab sends you salams.'" Fidda comes to Habib and says, "Oh Habib, the daughter of Zahra has sent you salam." Now the books of Azaz say, "Falatama Habib ala khaddihi." Habib began slapping his cheeks. He takes the dust from Karbala and throws it on his head, and he begins saying, "Man ana wa man akun hatta tusalli alayya bintu Amir al-Mu'mineen." Habib, who are you? Who will you become such that the daughter of Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying salam to you? The day of Ashura comes. Each time someone passes away, Hussein goes to take the lash of that body. Habib goes with Hussein to bring that body back to the camp. Habib takes the wasiyah of that person. Now there comes a time when Habib himself has to go for jihad. We don't know how Hussein said goodbye to his childhood friend. Some of the riwayat say that 62 people from the army of the Mal'ooneen are killed at the hands of Habib. But at one point, Habib falls from his horse and he says, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, adrikni. Oh Mawla Hussein, I have fallen down, can you come to me? Hussein runs out to his childhood friend. He places Habib's head on his lap and he says, Ya Habib, kunta fadila. You are a righteous man, Habib. Now it's time for you to go, Habib. On the other side, Rasulullah will be waiting for you. He will quench your thirst after your death. After this massacre of Karbala has come to an end, when the captives are being taken away from Karbala, when they are heading towards Kufa, we have narrations that say that when the kafilah of Zainab, when the kafilah of the ladies, when the kafilah of the children are going towards Kufa, that Habib ibn Mazahir, who has become Shaheed, also had a son. That son did not know that his father had been killed in this battle. Now this kafilah is going through the streets of Kufa, and we have two riwayat here. Some say that this son of Habib was a young child, and this young child is seen running behind a horse. He keeps running behind the horse, and there is a man on the horse holding Habib's head on a spear. And he sees that child, he turns around and he says, what is it that you want, oh child? This child says that is my Baba's head. Give that head back to me. My Baba's head is on that spear. He keeps running behind that horse asking for his Baba's head. Some of the riwayat say that Habib's son was actually a grown man. When he sees the head of the father on the spear, he goes to the soldier, he begins fighting and arguing and wrestling with him until he gets the head of his father back. He talks to his father, he wipes the sand and blood from his father's face. He says, Baba, Baba, one whose son, one whose dependent is alive is not paraded around in the bazaar. Baba, your descendants are alive. While I am here, they're not going to take you around in the bazaar. We would say, O son of Habib, be careful what you are saying. Sajjad, Zainul Abidin is here too. Zainul Abidin is sick. Zainul Abidin has no energy to fight for the head of his Baba. Zainul Abidin is tied up in chains. Zainul Abidin is also looking at the head of his Baba. He's also saying, Baba, your Warith, your descendant is here. Baba, where are these people taking you? Baba, I can't do anything to help you now, Baba. Va Veila, Va Mazluma, Va Ghariba. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. Ya Allah, by the right of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, by the right of the Shuhada of Karbala, please join me in dua for all those who are sick, all those who are disabled, all those who are fighting disease. Please give them, for those people in this gathering who are sick, who are disabled, who are fighting disease, please give them a speedy and quick recovery. For all those in difficult financial conditions, for all those who don't have a job, for all those in difficult jobs, please provide for them from your endless bounty, your endless risk. For all those who are in difficult marriages, all those who are having trouble with their spouses, all those having trouble with their parents, all those having difficulties with their children, with their brothers, with their sisters, with their in-laws, give them tranquility and sukoon in their hearts and mend their relationships and bring their hearts back together. والآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. ماتم حسين.
If you've ever wondered, if you've ever wondered, then bring your ear closer, then bring your ear closer. If you've ever pondered on who is al-Abbas, on who is al-Abbas. If you've ever wondered, if you've ever wondered, then bring your ear closer, then bring your ear closer. If you've ever pondered on who is al-Abbas, on who is al-Abbas. A part of the answer is Haydar, his father. A part of the answer is Haydar, his father. Fatima, his mother. What more could a son ask? What more could a son ask? His lineage and his caste only play a part to play. He is just al-Abbas. Abu Fadl is his name. Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Abu Fadl. Everyone. Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Abu Fadl. Haydar Ali trained you, Haydar Ali trained you. The moon Ali named you, the moon Ali named you. For this day he raised you. Put Zainab in your trust, put Zainab in your trust. When she would stand under the heat with no helper, your flag would be her shelter. When its shadow would cast, when its shadow would cast, block the sun from her path. This is Zainab bint Ali, light her way, Ya Abbas, like the moon lights the valley. Ya Abu Fadl, 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 Ya Abu Fadl. Standing by the river, they call him the quencher. Standing by the river, they call him the quencher. Like his father Haydar, he made his final stand. He made his final stand. If he would have taken a sip, don't be mistaken. If he would have taken a sip, don't be mistaken. He would have began breaking their army like the glass. Their army like the glass, their army like the glass, their army like the moon pulls the vast ocean waves and then it stops. It's a shame al-Abbas did not get to taste a drop. Ya Abu Fadl, 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 Ya Abu Fadl. Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Abu Fadl. Haydar Ali trained you. Haydar, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Ali, Ya Ali. Haydar Ali trained you, the moon Ali named you. Haydar Ali trained you, the moon Ali named you. For this day he raised you. Put Zainab in your trust, put Zainab in your trust, put Zainab in your trust, put Zainab in your. When she would stand under the heat with no helper, when she would stand under the heat with no helper, your flag would be her shelter. When its shadow would cast, when its shadow would cast, block the sun from her path. This is Zainab bint Ali, light her way, Ya Abbas, like the moon lights the valley. Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Abu Fadl. Everyone, Ya Abu Fadl, 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 Ya Abu Fadl. If you've ever wondered, if you've ever wondered, bring your ear closer, then bring your ear closer. If you've ever pondered on who is al-Abbas, on who is al-Abbas, a part of the answer is Haydar, his father. A part of the answer is Haydar, his father. Fatima, his mother. What more could a son ask? What more could a son? His lineage and his caste only have a part to play, for he is Al-Abbas. Abu Fadl is his name. Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Abu Fadl. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ما شاء الله.
توجه زيارة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا نبي الله يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى أم المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي الشهيد بكربلاء. السلام عليك يا زين العابدين. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباقر. السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق. السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم. السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا المرتضى. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الجواد. السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الحادي. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي العسكري. السلام عليك يا حجة يا صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان. السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.